Christi Craddick is at the forefront of the newest wave of conservatives in leadership roles here in Texas. Raised in a strong conservative household, retained as legal counsel by prominent Texas firms, and shaped by more than a decade as a trusted political advisor, she set a clear standard for integrity, self-reliance, and innovation at her position as commissioner at the Railroad Commission. Since her tenure began on the commission in November of 2012, she has maximized the effectiveness and efficiency of an energy industry that is driving the state's unparalleled economic success. In the process, she has repeatedly proven that sensible regulations, careful listening, and plain talk can foster innovation that has solidified Texas leadership in the energy sector. She's made it a top priority to work to educate the public about oil and gas industry and its impact on Texas. She's fought against Washington's one-size-fits-all environmental policies that kill jobs and stifle energy production. And she's advocated for recycling in the oil field, helping to drive the percentage of reclaimed water upwards. As part of her efforts to modernize the agency, she has championed information technology overhaul at the commission, and all of the upgrades are really because of her tireless work at the legislature to make sure that the commission has the resources it needs to do the job. A native of Midland, the heart of the Permian Basin, she earned both her bachelor's degree as a Plan 2 graduate and her doctor of jurisprudence from the University of Texas. And really, she followed the example of her mother and father, drawn to public service and politics. As president of a grassroots advocacy firm, she took the lead on working on coalition building, something we all need more of today. She resides in Austin with her daughter, Catherine, and is an active member of St. John Newman Catholic Church. Let's welcome Chairman Craddick to the stage.
Thank you for the introduction. For those of you who don't know, I loaned y'all Jason because he always will work for me, by the way. But he's doing a great job. I'm glad to see him here, and thank y'all for having me. It's nice to be in a room and see people and not be doing this on Zoom or whatever we've been doing for the last few 18 months. It's been a strange kind of 18 months. It's nice to be back in person. But I thought I'd tell you just for a minute about what we do for those of you who forget, and for a minute about me. So I've been at the Railroad Commission since 2012. Yes, it really has been that long. And I'm one of 3 of us as sitting commissioners, and right now I'm sitting as the chairman. This is my 3rd round, I think, as chair. And so we've come a long way at this agency, and we're excited to continue moving forward. I grew up in Midland, the heart of the world, I believe, in the oil and gas world. And we really have, and Jason said it, we focused on IT upgrades. We're still moving forward for those of you who wonder. Seismicity, flaring, winter storm, and everything else, and new technology upgrades. We've spent a lot of time working on issues at this agency, and we're excited about what is to come. And he mentioned also recycling. Look, I grew up in West Texas. Water is the thing. If you think you're in the oil and gas business, you're now in the liquids business and always have been. But water will always be a priority for me because I grew up in a desert. So we are the oldest oil and gas regulatory body in the entire world. We're the oldest agency in the entire world, in the entire state at the Railroad Commission, and we like being the oldest. We also like our funny name. So please don't let them change it. Bill and I have been through that, Stevens and I have been through that conversation more than a few times, Bill, and so we both like our name and we hope not to change it. Look, I believe we're the most important agency in the state. We regulate oil, natural gas, mining, pipelines, which are really critical. If you can drill all you want, but if you can't get it to market, it doesn't matter. Coal's important, geothermal, we have carbon capture, we have a little bit of everything at this agency. But our top priority is and will always be the health and safety, and we're proud of this industry in this state, and we're proud of the emphasis we put on that, but also allowing innovation, and smaller operators always come up with new things, and that's where this industry continues to thrive. Texas is a leader. And we're ready, willing, and able to meet our energy demands. The Railroad Commission is responsible for ensuring that those needs are met responsibly and efficiently. So let me say this again. Texas is a leader, and we want to remain that. So as you know, everybody in this room, this industry impacts how we travel. That's always obvious. Always remind people it affects what we're wearing, what we're using, and what we eat. For those of you who have people that don't think they're in oil and gas and are affected, remind them that Doritos has oil and gas in it, and that'll make them go research and find out. Making up about a third of our state's budget, the oil and gas industry plays a huge role in the vibrancy of this state's economy. So you've all heard about the rainy day fund. CAR does a good job reminding y'all how important this state and this industry is. But would it surprise you to know that we basically have $11 billion with a B sitting in that fund? That's a lot of money. That's oil and gas severance tax dollars. So by the numbers, from last year numbers, $13.9 billion with a B dollars were paid into state taxes, royalty payments, and taxes of all kinds. $38 million, because that's a big old number, $38 million a day comes into the state from the oil and gas industry. And that goes to roads and first responders and hospitals, schools. It's important for us. But even more important is how it affects individual, everyday people, and that's roughly 400,000 people work in this industry with an average salary of about $128,000 a day. A year. How about $128,000? I'm changing businesses. $128,000 a year. That's real money in people's pockets. These are real people out working in our communities, and $128,000 is a lot of money for that could be a one-income household in a lot of places. On the national level, Texas produces roughly 44% of the U.S. crude, 25% of our natural gas, and we refine about 31% of the refining capability and the capacity in the country comes from Texas. One of the interesting numbers that we just looked at, that I just got this week from August, those of y'all see price does make a difference. Our production of natural gas in the state has gone up 15% in the last year. We're now producing almost 33 BCF of natural gas. For those of you who watch the numbers, we've been averaging about 27, 28 BCF of natural gas a day. We're now at almost 33% of natural gas a day, and that's from August. Hey, price makes a difference, right? We see an opportunity. Texas leads in innovation and energy production, and that is key to helping rebuild Americans' positions as global leaders. The extraordinarily positive impact this industry has on our state and national economy is crucial when it comes to our place in the global playing field. So look, federally, I'm going to talk about that for a minute. I know y'all heard from the congressman as well this morning. It's important to note some of the challenges, though, that we see as this industry moves forward. Not only is the Railroad Commission working to implement legislation from the winter storm and this last legislative session, which I'll get back to in a minute, but we're also, frankly, experiencing an increasingly hostile regime coming from D.C. No surprise for a lot of us. On day one, this president rolled out his no oil and gas executive orders, Keystone XL pipeline shut down first day. That was lovely 3 days later when I got to talk to my counterparts in Canada. Ban drilling on federal lands, which is a real challenge for those people who don't live in this state. We only have less than 5% of federal lands are in Texas. But for our friends in New Mexico, Oklahoma, a lot of other western states, this is a problem. It affects their economy. And the overall impact really is chilling. This president has made his wishes for increased green energy, clean energy through the Green New Deal and decreased traditional fuel sources clear, regardless of science, data, or economic feasibility. Look, when Obama left office, the Railroad Commission was watching 144 rules and regulations over everything we regulated at that point. Next administration walked in the door, we were only watching 4 by the time they walked out the door. We all know regulation costs dollars, and we're an agency that already is regulating most of this stuff. The same emphasis on American oil and gas, American jobs, and frankly, our economic success is not important, or doesn't seem important to this administration, as they're calling for OPEC to produce more. Hello, where are we? Right here. And we fully expect that the number of rules and regulations are going back up. Waters of the U.S. and methane are on the forefront, and they're coming. But in states like California and New York, where policies that favor alternative energy over oil and clean-burning natural gas have been implemented for years, what are they having? Blackouts, expensive energy, and frankly, mass exodus of people. Where are they coming? Here. We're glad to have them, as long as they remember why they came. 1,100 people a day are moving into Texas. A lot. And each day, we've got to prioritize reliable, affordable energy to keep up with the increasing needs of our state, and it's important that the federal government understands that. They also ought to like us. We're creating the jobs that they need coming out of COVID again. Please, Congressman, keep fighting for us. We appreciate what you're doing. I want to get back for a minute to the state legislature. We're glad that they've been there. We keep thinking they're going home. They come back Monday again. We're so glad for that. But it's been an interesting legislative session, and obviously the COVID on top of the winter storm made it an even more interesting session. So I thought I'd kind of go through what we're working on after we came out of this winter storm. We've got a lot to do. And on top of our usual budget discussions, which I'll get back to in just a second because they were important for us, and thanks for the help. We also, as an agency, and for those of you who know me, we always are looking for real-world solutions to resolve some issues. And that's what we came to the table with after Winter Storm Uri. I'm proud to report that several of the recommendations that our agency made, and look, we got feedback from industry really quickly, they adopted them because they realized that these make sense, right? So as a result of SB 3, which is the big winter storm omnibus bill, we're going to map all the critical infrastructure in this state. That sounds interesting. It's a big of a challenge. We'd like the feedback, by the way. But if you don't know what you have, then you don't know what you should do first. So, common sense. Alongside with my friends downstairs, and I say downstairs, we're in the same building with the PUC and TxDOT and other agencies, we're going to map to make sure that we don't have power outages at important fuel generating facilities. Additionally, this state's going to formalize a group that we've kind of had as an ad hoc group for the last 20 years of industry, state, government leaders called Texas Energy Reliability Council. It's going to be important so we can actually continue to talk to each other. This isn't a one-time deal for us, right? We're also going to work with industry to define and adopt rules that implement appropriate weather preparedness measures. Like yesterday, we met in public meeting. We put out our first draft of rules. We want the feedback. Y'all have been, as an association, already involved in that conversation. We want to make sure these make sense, how they work, and we want reasonable rules in place. Another bill, and when we're told the PUC has their rules, supposedly first round coming out tomorrow. Agencies have been working back and forth. We spend a lot of time going up and down in the elevators. So hopefully we are going to have some common sense things that really resolve some issues as we come out of this. Another bill that we worked through during session is House Bill 1520. Those of you who have gas utilities going into your house, and hopefully they stayed on, says 99.95% of our gas utility customers had gas at their homes. They stayed warm, right? We're trying to replicate that as we get down to the electric world. We want to make sure, though, that your gas bills aren't excessive. So we've had several companies file with us as an agency. In November, you'll see us do hearings to determine what reasonable rates are and what they can go in and get some financing through the Texas Public Finance Authority. That way you don't have a $5,000 gas bill come to your house. It'll be out over multiple 15 years that it's more reasonable to pay. And lastly, for those of y'all who pay attention, and this became really important, we've had a gas curtailment order in place since 1972, 1973 that we have not updated. That rule is coming again, and we are going to look at it and make sure that, since we know a lot more people get their heat from electricity now, that we are prioritizing in this state what we need to. So that rule will come from us in about a month. You will see it within the next month. So we're busy at our agency. Look, we appreciate that the legislature asked and put some normal common sense rules and regulations in place, and we look forward to putting those rules in place, and our recommendations were important. And we look forward to working with counterparts across the state and industry leaders. We need y'all involved in the conversation. We appreciate when you do. I want to talk about my budget for just a minute. Those of you who know me know budget has been important. Somehow the liberal arts attorney runs the budget at our agency. I don't know why that happened. That's fine with me. It's been important for us. We now have about 830 people at our agency. We are actually paying our people appropriately for the first time. And for those of you who look at our website, hey, we've updated it. We're going to continue to update it. And we are in the middle of an IT upgrade that will really get us off a mainframe in Fortran. Yes, we still have that. If you don't know what that means, go ask the gray-haired people in the room. But you've seen a better mapping system, and that process is going to continue, and that we appreciate the legislature understands that's important, not just to us, but to the general public. Everybody wants our data, right? Everybody wants to know what's going on with the well next door to them, the pipeline down the street, and so that's important to us. It's been important to the legislature, and y'all, as an association, went in and said it's important to us too, so thank you for that. Look, although the Railroad Commission is important to energy industry only, and that's what we focus on, I want to tell you that the legislature actually did some other good things in their budget, and I want to highlight a few things because it affects all of us. They put $46.5 billion into public education. If we don't educate our kids, it doesn't matter what we do anymore. They put $34 billion into health care access and women's health. Again, another priority that we need to continue focusing on. They put more than $1 billion into border security, which is important. It doesn't just stop in McAllen, though, in the border. Border issues come into our local area. We need to fund our hospitals and our schools and other issues that as we have people coming across our border. And they put $139 million into law enforcement pay raises. It's about time we pay our first responders appropriately. So I appreciate that the legislature didn't just focus on us. Again, we're the most important, I always will tell you. But that they focused on other priorities, and a lot of what their dollars go to are what you've brought in from the oil and gas industry. And some other issues that they worked on that are important to all of us just generally and as business leaders as well. SB 6, which is a pandemic liability protection. Look, it's kind of been an issue, how you go back to work and what that does to your business, and are you liable for that? It protects businesses and healthcare providers, this bill does, from opportunistic pandemic-related lawsuits. That makes good common sense to me. House Bill 17 won't allow cities like my crazy city in Austin to ban natural gas when you're building a new development. We want to make sure natural gas is still used as a fuel source. We aren't California, folks. Public safety funding, House Bill 1900, cracks down again on municipalities that defund the police. Doesn't make a lot of sense to do that. I will tell you it's gotten worse in Austin since we've done that. I appreciate the legislature did that. And the other piece that's important to me, and I think to all of us in this room, broadband access across the state. not everybody lives in crazy Austin, Texas. There are people, normal people live outside of Austin, Texas, by the way. And so it's important that people, 100,000 people in Texas that don't have high-speed internet deserve it and need to be part of that conversation. You can work anywhere as long as, and the quality of life is a lot better outside of big cities, a lot of people think. So that'll be an important bill as we go forward as well. But almost as important as what the legislature did do is what they didn't do. It's always nice, like I said, for them to go home. Throughout this legislative session, there were a lot of attempts to grow the size and scope of government. They managed not to do that for the most part. I still believe that the free market and people grow this country, not government. And so for the most part, Texas is better off for those of us who want to earn a paycheck and build a business. And that is the philosophy we've always had in Texas. To wrap up, Texas's ability and willingness to meet our states, countries, and even world demand can't be overstated in the energy sector. We have a history of exceeding expectations when it comes to energy production, innovation, and frankly, good old-fashioned hard work. The Railroad Commission is poised to provide regulatory certainty under this federal government, and will do everything in our power to keep our energy industry vibrant, especially as we rebound from COVID and go back to whatever is new normal. This energy world in Texas is critical, not only for the operation of business in Texas, but also for the U.S. and the global economy. Thank you all for having me. I really appreciate it. And it's always nice to be amongst friends who understand what I do. If there's time, and I'll have time, Jason, I'll be glad to answer any questions. Thank you all very much.